Okay, good morning, dear hearts. We're going to kind of tie everything together and do gram to gram conversions. So I want to just review what we've learned so far. We've learned how to balance chemical equations. We have learned how to find molar mass. We have molar mass. We have learned how to calculate Avogadro's number, and we have done gram to mole, mole to gram problems. And last week, if you did it, we learned how to do mole to mole problems. Okay, we're going to tie it all together now, and we're going to kind of make sense of all this and do these gram to gram conversions. Okay, so I'm just going to dive right into it and give you an equation that you're probably familiar with if you've been watching these. I'm going to start out with methane, CH4 gas, and combust it, which means I'm going to combine it with oxygen gas. So that's gas. And that yields, and you guessed it if you were paying any attention at all, CO2 gas and H2O gas. Yes, ran out of room there. Okay, so I'm going to start counting things and just balance this real quick. One carbon there, good. 4 hydrogen there, 2 hydrogen there, so I need to have a 2 in front of this. So I've got 4 hydrogens here, 4 hydrogens there. I've got 2 oxygens there and 2 oxygens there, and I've only got 2 there, so I need to have 2 in front of that. Okay, we're balanced. Okay, so one of the things we could ask is that, okay, so if we're burning methane, how much CO2 are we producing? And this is of vital importance when we're thinking about global climate change and things like that. If we're going through some sort of process of burning this methane, we want to know how much CO2 are we going to produce. So this is germane in a lot of ways. So let's just go with this problem. Let's say we start out with 200 grams of methane, CH4, will yield how many grams of CO2? And at first glance, this looks like, oh, I just do a conversion. So I'm just going to tell you there are 4 steps to converting this. And I want you guys to just refer back to this. We're going to do a gram to mole, a mole to mole, and then a mole to gram problem to determine this. And before we start, I just want to highlight that we have already balanced the chemical equation, and we're going to need the molar masses of these, and you'll see that really soon. So I'm just going to say what I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to go from grams of CH4 to moles of CH4. That's a gram to mole problem. I'm going to go from moles of CH4 to moles of CO2. Okay? And then I'm going to go from moles of CO2 to grams of CO2. So this is, again, a 4-step problem. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? So let's just kick this off, and I'll write down. All right. We need to know a couple of things. First, we need to know the molar mass of the 2 reagents in the chemical equation. So molar masses. So I'm going to do CH4, and so I've got 1 carbon, which is 12. 1 carbon times 12 grams per mole of carbon, which equals 12. And then I've got 4 times 1 gram per mole of hydrogen, which I'm pretty sure equals 4. So CH4 has a molar mass of 16 grams per mole. We need also, and I'm just looking back to this, we need to know these things for this. We also need this for CO2. So CO2, I've got 1C, 1 carbon there, times 12 grams per mole equals 12 grams per mole. And oxygen, I've got 2 times, and from the periodic table, 16 grams per mole. That's the mass. So that's pretty sure that's 32 grams per mole. And we total that up and we get CO2 is 44 grams per mole. Okay, so we're going to use these two numbers in the next step. Okay, you with me? We're almost there. Stick with me. Okay? Alright, so again, the problem was 200 grams of CH4 equals how many grams of CO2? Alright, so I'm going to take the known right here and I'm going to put it over 1, just like we did last week in mole to mole conversions. So 200 grams of CH4, and I'm going to put it over 1. And notice how I'm writing out everything here. I'm not just putting 200 grams. I'm keeping track of what I'm writing down, okay? And that will become apparent in just a minute why we do that, okay? So I'm going to go again, my process is to go from grams of CH4 to moles of CH4, okay? So I need to have this number, the molar mass, to do that. So we know there's 16 grams per mole. There's 1 mole, come on, 1 mole per 16 grams. Okay, so now I can cancel out grams. Alright, so now I'm going to, the second step is to go from moles. We've done this step, this is step 1. And step 2, well, this is really step 3. So step 2 is I'm going to go from moles of CH4 to moles of CO2. Well, where do we get that? Well, we get it from this balanced chemical equation. There's 1 mole of CH4 for 1 mole of CO2. So that's pretty easy. So now I'm going to go, alright, I've got CH4 on the top, so I want CH4 on the bottom. Whoops. Oh, this is great. I love this. CH4 on the bottom. So 1 mole. And there's 1 mole of CO2 on top. Okay? So now we can cancel some more things out. So moles cancels and CH4 cancels. So now we're in CO2. So now the final step is to go from moles of CO2 to grams of CO2. Alright? So now I'm going to do this down here because it's already such a mess. Okay, so I want, let's see, moles of CO2 on the bottom. So for 1 mole of CO2, how many grams are there? Let me go back to this. CO2, there are 44 grams per mole. So 44 grams, okay, of CO2. Now I can cancel some things out. So CO2 and moles cancels, and I end up with grams of CO2, which is what I want right here. So I carry through with the math, and I forgot to grab a calculator. Let's see, I'll do it. 200 divide by 16 times 44. So let's see, let me grab a calculator real quick here, and I'll race you, what is it, 200 divide 16 times 44. I end up with 550. So that's 550, and what are my units? Well, my units are grams of CO2. So 550, whoops, screwed that up, 550 grams of CO2. Okay, so refer back to this and refer to the sheet that I've given you, the help sheet, and this will help you do that. And of course, email me if you have any questions. And dang it, do your work. Get it done. Okay? I don't care about the grade. I care about your learning. Do it. All right, love you guys. See you soon, I hope. Bye.